Hi, I'm Kuru, and today I'm here to give you some art advice. Just a disclaimer, I am not going to point out every single thing that I think could be improved, just some of the details that stick out to me. Also, feel free not to listen to my advice if you don't want to. That's fine too. Today I have here this piece by Revy Ray, or Revy Draw on Instagram, and it is a character illustration of her original character. So from her post on Instagram, when she posted this drawing, she said that this character's name is Helena, and she created it a few years ago, but she is still unsure of what role to give this character. And I think that does show in this illustration. But let's start with the good parts. I really like that you stuck to a certain color palette. There is a lot of yellow and green in this illustration, and I really like the pencil quality of the lines. It gives it a nice hand-drawn feel here, right here, and on the shading as well. I also really like the shape of the shadows here on this arm, and the fact that I have a little bit of blue mixed in here. It gives it some more dimension and a little bit of a pop. I wish the blue carried out throughout the rest of the illustration, maybe in the hair. But yes, I do like the shape of the shadows. They're good. Also, I do like the shape of the eyes and the nose. The little button nose is very cute. And overall, I think this shows very good knowledge of anatomy and the body, which is very good. Very well done. But we can push this illustration one level further. So this, despite it being very correct anatomically, having nice colors, I think what this illustration is lacking is personality. Like Revy has said in her own post, she is unsure of what this character's story is, and that really shows in this illustration. One thing that is not really getting through is what is the mood, what is she feeling, what are her emotions, what is she doing, what is the setting. I think that is all very vague and is really holding back this illustration. Some of the suggestions that I would give would be to decide beforehand what a character's role is. You don't need to have an entire backstory in mind, but at least a setting, maybe a job, hobbies, personality traits. I think that would be like a good base to start with. So maybe from her clothing, she could be in a medieval setting. That's the first thing that came to my mind. We could go from there. And I can see that she has a hoodie. So the first thing that I thought from that would be, okay, maybe she can be a thief. Maybe she's an orphan, she lives on the street and she has to steal for a living. And who knows, maybe she needs to take care of a smaller brother or something. So that's why she has this more adult look on her face. Maybe she's a bit more serious because she needs to take on the adult role, even though she's still a very young girl. Now I'm just making things up in my mind, but that could be a good base to start with. So let's go maybe from there. I know that this character does not really have a background story, but we need one to go from here. So one thing that I thought would be good is to show maybe a good example of what the illustration could look like from a sketch. I'm not going to draw this from the beginning, but I just wanted to show you kind of like a base idea of what she could look like that I've already prepared. So this is just what a sketch could have looked like if I had to start over from the beginning. So I did pull up her hoodie because I wanted it to be like one of the main traits in her attire. I did make it into a cape so she could hide in the shadows. And I gave her a dagger just to drive home that she is a fighter. She needs to fight to get through this harsh world. And a belt here. I thought this might be a belt. I am not 100% sure. So I just turned it into a belt and thought, hey, maybe she can have like tools, and maybe her knife holster can hang from her belt, and maybe bag for her to put things in when she steals them. So this is just a little sketch of what a composition could have looked like. One other thing that I wanted to comment on going from here is that her pose is very stiff in the original. So if we look at what her pose looks like like, there we go. So it's just a stiff pose. She's just standing straight, as you can see. She's just standing straight, and her shoulder line is mirroring her hip line, which gives it a bit of a stiff pose. Usually what you want to do is have the shoulder line contrast the hip line to give it a bit more movement. You don't have to, but it does help, especially if you have a character standing straight. We usually put more weight or one leg than the other when we stand. So what you would see then is a slight tilt. If this is our torso, then our hip usually have a bit of a tilt, even if we're standing up, and then you have the legs, and then you're standing up like this. So you see, like, this is a bit more interesting than just having a character be completely straight. Let's show what that would look like. Not great at drawing straight line, but that doesn't need to be a requirement for an artist, I think. Unless you are Picasso. This drawing got a bit in the way. But yeah, if you see like this guy standing here, shoulders straight, hips straight, boring. This guy is chilling. This guy on the right is a bit more chilling. You can see that he's resting his weight on this here leg, and he has more of a relaxed pose. Well, this one is very stiff, very contracted. So if you think about how humans normally stand, how people normally stand, when we're relaxed, we slouch. So that's one thing to keep in mind. If somebody is just not doing anything, they're usually slouched. So you want to try to keep things not straight. If they're tense, that's when things straighten up. One thing that I also want to mention is that a stiff or relaxed pose doesn't necessarily mean a bad or boring illustration. I can show you a few examples so you can see exactly what I mean. So we have this illustration here by Vamp Bite. It is very similar to what Revy has as well, but you can see that the vibe is much different. What is exactly making the difference here in this drawing to like this drawing? What is making the Vamp Bites drawing a little bit more interesting, I would say, is their use of light and expression to convey a feeling. So when I look at this drawing, I can tell that this character is feeling sadness or melancholy, or at least is feeling some sort of sad emotion. One good detail here that I see as well is these two marks on their neck. Maybe they're vampire bites, like the artist name. But it's a good addition, you know, it tells you something about the character. They have something to hide, makes them mysterious. The choice of light here, we have very cool colors. In the shadows gives you like a sense of melancholy. The fact that the light is coming from the back of the head of the character makes it so that most of the character is in shadow, which gives them this mysterious aura. I think that's very good storytelling through small details. One thing that's also very good that draws the attention to the expression is the highlights in the eyes, because we have such a strong light coming from the back here. But the first thing that really jumps is the eyes, the character's face, even though it's in shadow, because the highlights are so prominent. They really stick out. So let's take what we have learned so far and apply it. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is actually pull up her hoodie. It's gonna hide most of her hair, but I don't think that is a problem unless the character's hair is somewhat symbolic, represents something. I think we can make this a bit more interesting by having her hoodie up, and then we can go with my interpretation of this character. Now let's apply what we just learned. I want the light source to be behind her. So I would like the light to come from this, which is the opposite. Right now it is coming from over here, but I would like to change it to the other side because she's looking this way. I would like her to be looking towards the light, just to emphasize the fact that she lives in darkness, she has a hard life, but maybe she would like to, you know, not live on the streets and live a good life. So she is looking towards the light in an expression of hope, but she is currently living in the darkness. So let's try and adjust the shadows. Let's get rid of the ones that are currently here, even though I said I like the shapes, so I feel a bit sad about having to get rid of them, but I have to for this. Sorry. Alright, so this is as far as I will go for the corrections. There are still some shadow and light issues to be fixed, but I won't do a complete redraw right now. I just want to show you more or less what I have in mind when I do the correction. So this is my corrections and this is the original. As you can see, I did my best to change the light source, but as I said, it does need some more corrections, so it's not a perfect fix. But yeah, you can see that this one is much brighter, mine came out much darker, and I have the light sources coming from behind her now. I pulled up her hood right here first, and then I also changed her expression a tiny little bit. Eyebrows are more furrowed than they were originally. I just tried to make it a bit more obvious that they were furrowed, so she looks a bit more like she is questioning what she's doing. She knows that stealing is wrong, but she has to do it anyway. She is a bit torn. The corners of her mouth are also facing downward now instead. They were facing a bit more up. Another change that I made to her face was I made her highlight pop a bit more. They are pure white in contrast to the eyes white that are in shadow, so that they pop out more. Even from when you zoom out, you can see the white of her eyes clearly. And one little thing that I did was also add a little pop of a pink. When you have like your color wheel, she has a lot of green and yellow going on, so I wanted to pick a color that was in contrast with that so that it would pop out a bit more. So I chose a pink. And as you can see, you don't really see it when you zoom out, but it is there. The fact that it's there and there is a contrasting color draws your eye to that part of the drawing. And if I were to suggest more adjustments, I would definitely suggest having her interact with something. Like in my little sketch, she had a little dagger in her hand, or holding an apple, something that, you know, maybe she just stole it, or showing her kind of like reaching out towards a mentions fruit in exposition, something like that. Having her doing an action is a good way to show her character. Having a background is also good. It doesn't need to be very detailed. It can be just the outlines of some houses, like I said, a merchant's fruit stand maybe. You don't need to draw the whole like merchant stand. You can just have like a crate with fruit or something like that. So what do you think? Does my correction of the character show a bit more of the character's personality and story? Let me know what you think. And as always, thank you for watching. I am always open to your submissions. If you want me to do any corrections, if you want me to give any suggestions, and if you want to support me and the making of these videos, I have a Ko-fi. You can make a one-time donation or you can become a member. I have recently updated the membership tiers, and now I have a tier just for supporters that's very, very low. One tier as well for if you want monthly stickers. So you can, for €5 a month, help me support my videos, myself, and also receive a sticker every month that I have made. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.